guess the reason why I became extremely interested in politics this year for the first time was because Mexicans like myself have the opportunity to vote from here, from the US, for the first time. So this really is what sparked my interest, and that's why I decided to go to Mexico and learn more about politics there. Mexico City in the grip of presidential elections. These people are on their way to see Andrés Manuel López Obrador, the presidential hopeful for the July 2nd elections. He's from the left-leaning Democratic Revolution Party, known as PRD, an Indian rights activist and former mayor of Mexico City. Even he can't get to his own event. His supporters speculated that political opponents had blocked the roads. In fact, a bus tipped over, and some died on their way to the rally. In Mexico's downtown Federal District, another event is underway, this one in the ballroom of the luxurious Hotel Camino Real.
Yo quiero pedirles el voto.
This is Roberto Madrazo, heading the Institutional Revolutionary Party, known as the PRI. The party, until the last elections, owned Mexico politics for 71 years. And on the streets of Polanco, former Energy Minister Felipe Calderón is campaigning to succeed his colleague Vicente Fox. An hour has gone by, and López Obrador is still stuck. In fact, all of the presidential candidates are stuck. While a new law allows Mexicans living in other parts of the world to vote in the presidential elections, it restricts each candidate's ability to campaign outside Mexico. But these politicians are eager to go, especially in the United States.
Nos den chance, permiso de brincar la frontera y hacer campaña allá, eso sería magnífico.
Gladys Voladeros is a political strategist for the party that currently governs Mexico, the PAN.
Pues les dé permiso a los candidatos de salir a hacer campaña a donde está por lo menos la mayoría de los paisanos.
The restriction was put in place to curb historic political corruption, so the government assigned the Federal Elections Institute, or IFE, to carry out the process. The rules to vote from abroad were complicated. First, the only place you can request an absentee ballot was directly from Mexico. So Mexican consulates around the world, like this one in San Francisco, provided the forms to begin the paperwork. But not everyone qualified. Only those with a Mexican voter ID card like this one could apply. Some of the requirements were to mail a Mexican identification and proof of residency abroad 6 months before the elections, and those without the voter ID cards had to travel to Mexico to request one. That may explain why only 10,000 requests came from Mexicans living in the United States, when about 4 million hold a voter ID card. David Navarro is one of the few that will be voting.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
He imports chilies and spices from Mexico.
¿Quieren ordenar algo?
And he hand delivers them to businesses in San Francisco's Bay Area.
Pues si alguien merecemos votar, somos aquí por las remesas que mandan, entonces genera muchas divisas para México, que viven muchas personas de eso.
Last year, Mexican workers in the U.S. sent back home $20 billion, drastically boosting Mexico's economy. That alone is one of the reasons Navarro is following this election closely.
A veces tienes preguntas que te quisieras que te contestaran los candidatos. Entonces, una persona sería más accesible si pudieras platicar con ellos de alguna manera más cerca.
Since the candidates couldn't come to the U.S. to campaign, our team decided to go to them. We went to see if we could speak with the candidates. First, we met dark horse candidate Patricia Mercado, an advocate of women's rights and leftist causes. But she didn't want to talk to us.
Que me acaban de multar del IFE, por eso no podemos hacer propaganda en Estados Unidos, así es que preferiría no decir nada.
We moved on to the powerful Institutional Revolutionary Party, the PRI. They refused to reply to our requests. But we found them at a private event.
La elección de este año no es una elección más. Es la elección del futuro.
He didn't hesitate to speak directly to the Mexicans in the U.S.
Me da mucho gusto saludar a nuestros paisanos que están en Estados Unidos, decirles que nos vamos a esforzar mucho para crear los trabajos aquí en México.
The other top presidential candidates also spoke openly to an American audience.
¿Qué es el mensaje que quiere que me lleve para ellos?
Here's what López Obrador had to say.
Que vamos a protegerlos, que vamos a ayudarlos para que no haya maltrato, para que no haya discriminación, para que se respeten sus derechos humanos.
When we got to Felipe Calderón from the currently governing National Action Party, he was happy to see international media and took advantage of the moment to make a personal pitch.
A todos los mexicanos que están en Estados Unidos, en particular los michoacanos que están por allá en California y en otros estados, les mando un saludo muy cordial. Les quiero decir que los extrañamos.
It's late in the evening in Toluca, the capital of Mexico State. López Obrador has finally made it to the rally.
Que el pueblo de México no está pidiendo limosnas. El pueblo lo que exige es justicia ciudadana.
The stakes are high. If López Obrador wins, he would be part of a drastic turn to the left, the same shift already taking place throughout Latin America.
Todo eso se va a terminar, no va a haber pensión millonaria ni para Salinas ni para Fox cuando se vaya de la presidencia.
And when it comes to Mexico's future elections, that shift could be affected by millions of potential voters living in the U.S. If their participation grows, someday, they could be the ones to decide who governs Mexico. It seems like Felipe Calderón, the people that follow him are middle class, educated, maybe the ones that will actually go out and vote. So, I mean, the whole world could love López Obrador, but if these people don't actually go out and vote, then he's not going to win.
I suspect they're just trying to show, that this is getting out of hand with, the legislators trying to pass these laws that's going to make it crimes and stuff, and you have all these people here who are already working, they're already in the workforce, they're already contributing to society. They're mad because it's almost as if they have no say, they have no voice because they can't vote, but they do have a voice, and it's standing out in the street in every country and not going to work and participating, and they're just showing, that don't make us get started.
The national debate on immigration reached a critical point as thousands of Mexican immigrants and their supporters took to the streets across the nation to demand immigration reform. Joseph was among the protesters in San Jose.
To me, this march is as a way, showing that I'm fighting for something. I'm fighting to be able to do what I want to do.
He's studying animation at a Bay Area university.
It was pretty exciting, because I was there for a cause, part of the movement.
The protests are a response to pending legislation. One version of a bill in the House of Representatives calls for the deportation of more than 11 million undocumented immigrants in the U.S. Joseph is one of them. He asked us to keep his identity a secret.
They're saying, this is the land of the free. Well, not really, because I'm struggling and I don't see how I'm going to be able to do what I want.
The Senate is considering a solution that is aimed to help undocumented immigrants who have been here for 5 years and want to pursue higher education. It's called the DREAM Act, and it would give temporary residency to undocumented immigrants attending college and eventually grant permanent residency to those who graduate.
Because right now, I could graduate from university, and I still can't do nothing about it. I'm going to have to go with a minimum wage job.
There are about 1.2 million children in the U.S. that immigrated illegally. 65,000 seniors graduate from high school each year without legal status nationwide.
I didn't come here, I was brought. So it's illogical for the government to pay 12 years of my education and send me back. I want to go to college. I'm from here. I'm not going to do anything in another country that I don't even speak the language.
I gain more education, and education is the only thing that is going to make me equal to anybody in this country, and that's what I want, education.
In some states like California, they can attend college. However, even with a degree, most undocumented graduates find it nearly impossible to work in their field.
I came into higher education thinking that I'd be able to utilize that degree. never really happened.
Javier has a master's degree in Mexican-American studies. He works in a video store. He also asked us to keep his identity secret.
I need to utilize my degree, and the likelihood of that happening here just isn't there. I mean, it's not, I can't say it's even high, it's not at all right now.
Without the incentive of a better job, many undocumented students drop out of high school and don't even think of going to college. Joseph and Javier say that's a mistake.
So right now it's just tentative dates. Let's just pick 2 dates, plan A, plan B. So that
Both Javier and Joseph are members of Student Advocates for Higher Education, also known as SAHE.
SAHE provides workshops to different high schools to explain what the educational opportunities are to undocumented students. They tend to target high schools within the area that they're organized in. And so, because there's a high immigrant population within it, we believe that there's a lot of students that can benefit from it.
The group encourages students to pursue higher education even if the DREAM Act never passes. Opponents of the bill say that it rewards students for immigrating illegally and gives them privileges that legal immigrants don't have.
I've been in this game now for so long. I mean, I've been in higher education now for 8 years. And it's hard for me to convey hope to students when in reality I have little hope for what's going to happen legislatively.
Legislators first introduced the concept of the DREAM Act in 2001, and although there has been some support for the idea, no law has been passed. Javier is not depending on the DREAM Act to secure his future.
So my answer right now is to migrate to Canada, attain my PhD, and hopefully utilize it either there or somewhere else. My status would be one of a student, with a student visa.
But studying abroad is filled with risk. Javier may be forced to return to Mexico to get a visa to study in Canada and may never be able to return to the United States. He's not sure if it will all be worthwhile.
I can't say that being here is not important to me. What I can say is that it's the only option I have right now to take care of the people I care about. Until I get to a position where I can take care of my loved ones, until I get to a place where I can, in a sense, repay all that has been done for me, I don't think I can really answer that question.
Joseph's plan is to stay here in the U.S. He's convinced he'll find a way to become an animator.
Nothing's going to stop me from being an animator. Unless somehow I lose my hand and I can't draw no more. But no law is going to stop me from being an animator or doing what I want to do.
Please, somebody help me. It's my baby.
And even though his plans aren't fully drawn out, he says he'll find a way to make it happen.
There's nothing I can do. Everybody, get down.
The way I see it, I could still get the job. It's just I have to go around the system. You know, there's always ways. If there's a will, there's a way. But obviously, if I were to get legal status, I'll be easy. I'll be just a straight line.
He has a master's degree, but he doesn't have a social security number. And apparently, having a social security number matters more than being qualified for the job that you want to pursue. So, Javier is working in a video store. And, that's okay for a while. But if you have a master's degree, you really have a lot more earning power than that.
So once they're in the system, they have to fight. Or, have their name dragged through the mud or go to jail, or, when their son grows up, their mother's like, oh, he never did anything for you, and there's no way to trace it. So I think that they have to. It's not a choice. The system is set up to where the woman makes all the choices and the man is forced to react.
Are you ready? How many did you shoot? 1 or 2? 1? Don't you get 2?
For 3 years, Jason Wright fought the Alameda County Family Courts for custody of his son, Jason Jr.
So it took me to a pretty low point in my life, because at that time, my whole object in life was to be here for my son.
The former Sacramento State basketball player set aside his NBA dreams and dropped out of school. Instead, he attacked the paperwork required by the court just so his son could remain at home with him.
When I went to file this paperwork, I didn't know where the X's went, where my name should be signed, and what I needed to write out, and what a declaration was, what paternity actually meant.
Everybody knows what deadbeat dad means. Fathers who aren't around and don't take responsibility for their children. But what about the fathers who are there, raising their children? They often find themselves in an uphill battle,
with the court's bureaucracy working against them.
Cameo Williams is raising his 13-year-old daughter, Camilla. He feels that labeling fathers deadbeat is an easy out, and society doesn't realize things are more complicated.
Somebody that's dead broke, they may not have the education to get a regular job. They may be incarcerated. They may be on SSI. They actually have some issues and limitations that prevent them from working, that prevent them from being an upstanding citizen and a father by our terms. Financially, that's tremendously different from somebody that's a deadbeat.
Cameo and Jason both know the system. They work for Alameda County Child Support Services. Before Jason got the job, he learned about the courts the hard way.
When you file this in court, there was a lot of legal mumbo jumbo I just didn't know, and I thought it would be something as simple as, look, I'm a good person. I'm trying to see my son. Why can't I just see him?
It's not that simple because before any decisions can be made, child support has to take all of that paperwork and enter it into their computers.
The DISO master system is the system that the whole state uses to establish child support. It's a computer database.
The computer calculates a number of variables. Gross income, taxes, and children from other relationships are included in the program.
So we just verify what a person puts on their income and expense declaration, type it in the little system, and it spits out what the child support should be.
All of those numbers end up in court documents. However, in the end, judges make the final decision, and it is not just the numbers that determine the final outcome.
A judge should just be signing off on it, kind of verifying what we have before him, but there are situations where that does not happen, where they just don't look at all the facts for whatever reason. That happened to me personally. I don't quite understand it, but the judge is the end all, and I don't know who oversees a judge. So you do have situations where they don't honor what the local child support agency referred to them. They just don't do it.
According to Cameo, the courts would not grant him full custody of Camilla, even though she was living with him. In fact, he was ordered to pay Camilla's mother $700 in child support each month. He got so angry at the judge that he was thrown in jail for a day for contempt of court. Jason says the child support system is harder for men.
Because, when you're dealing with child support, custody and visitation, you'll find a lot of frustrated fathers, and the reason why is because the system isn't father-friendly.
The court system hasn't been father-friendly for years. Until the law was changed in the 80s, women were automatically granted custody of children when the parents separated, and men were responsible for child support. The only exceptions were women the court labeled sexually loose or unfit.
That's why I think when you talk about the deadbeat dads and not deadbeat moms, it was because the notion of the father having primary responsibility.
Herma Kay says the courts were definitely biased against men, and that's a bias that continues to this day.
In the area of child support, as well as many areas of traditional family law, there was quite a division of function between men and women. Men were responsible primarily for the support of their wives and children, and women were only secondarily responsible for their children's support if the father was unable to provide. So those laws fingered the father.
Here in Alameda County, where the majority involves African American families, there's another problem. Some men are reluctant to show up in court.
Here in Oakland, California, where I'm from, you don't really like going in the courtrooms. Chances are usually they got a defendant sign right in front of you. You know what I mean? You're in front of a judge, and usually they don't come out too favorable for you.
However, if men fail to show up, the court bases its decision on the information it hears, and usually the result is a default order.
When a lot of men get drove underground because we got these default judgments against where they never showed up in court to provide their current situation or what's going on. Then you're suspending his license, you're taking his taxes, you're taking 50% of his check. Why would you want to work? That's the way they're looking at it.
It is a part of Cameo's job to encourage the men to come anyway.
He and Jason lead the child support outreach program aimed at high school students, fathers, and recent parolees. Kevin Grant works with child support in the outreach program as a motivational speaker to parolees.
So the child support issue is very positive in the way that it allows these people to get their licenses back and get their training certificates back, which we know that the child support people through the DA's office automatically takes. This allows them at this time, Natasha, to get these things back in place so they can indeed move on with their life by starting off at an even keel.
Cameo says 78% of his cases are filed by women, while 22% of the cases in Alameda County are filed by men. Nationally, 63% of child support cases are filed by women and 37% are filed by men. But the statistics don't tell the entire story, because it's mostly women who file for support, while full-time dads do not.
I notice it through the courts. The men just do not come. It's almost like they've been through so much, they know the other end. They do not want to deal with the courts in any way, shape, or form, and they'll rather struggle than to ask the mother, at least through the court's eyes.
You kind of feel like you're already ahead of the game by even having custody of your son, so you don't want to ask for too much, or even, you know, you just feel like, hey, let me just have mine and my son or my daughter, and just let me live. You know, that's right. One day you'll be able to beat up on your son like this.
After paying for attorney and mediation fees, as well as dealing with restraining orders against him and investigations into his character, Jason ended his 3-year battle last year and received full custody of Jason Jr.
You know, just that I love him, and I think he knows that. And now we've established a bond, you know, that can never be broken. Follow through this like I'll show you.
Jason tells fathers that he works with every day to have patience and not lose sight of the ultimate goal.
And if your ultimate goal is to be there for your child, your son or daughter, whatever it takes for you to do, you just have to do it. There's no excuses.
For Cameo, it was a 7-year battle. The court finally awarded Cameo custody after Camia's mother failed to show up for a court date. He no longer has to make child support payments.
So I got it now, but it wasn't easy. And so when people come here and they come back, oh man, I did everything you told me to do, and it didn't happen for me, I tell them, you know what, you need to get up and go again. Because if you quit, you're going to be stuck. So just get up and keep going, because I had to do it, and I work here, and I know what to do.
Father and daughter are closer than ever and share a passion for basketball.
Basketball is it's a safe haven for us. Because we share it, it's always a conversation piece. She always has questions, and she enjoys it, and just something that's so dear to my heart. It's 2 of my greatest things in life, love and basketball, my daughter and basketball. You can't be that.
I think the system thinks about itself. I mean, in the end, if the mother doesn't pay for the child or if the father doesn't pay for the child, the system is going to have to take care of the child. And what state needs one more ward of the state?
So we were brought up in an atheist culture. Basically, we're told there's no God the first day we were in school. So that's a huge transformation, and I want to understand more. I want to understand the experience of my friends.
Do you need a lot of space? Or you can do it in the front.
I grew up in China believing there's no God in the world. Most people did too. For my parents' generation, communist ideal gave life a purpose. My generation received a patriotic Marxist education. But all that has started to change. I don't know when friends around me started becoming Christians. It is baffling to me. How did the generation that chanted there's no God change course so quickly? Not only that, it is not Buddha they turn to, but a Western God, Jesus Christ.
虽然说金钱也有了，虽然说地位也有了，虽然说 career 也有了，但是那就是我的一切吗？我经常问自己这个问题。
Zhang Luning and Ma Yue, both from China, are 2 of my friends who've converted to Christianity.
So when you see the skyscrapers and when you see the achievements the society has got, and at the same time you also see the struggle and the life the poor people have.
That's a common conversation among my generation. We were born too late to suffer the Cultural Revolution. The government did what they could to give us a good education, and we achieved our parents' dreams. With all that success, we want to know one more thing. What's the meaning of life? For Yue and Lu Ning, Jesus Christ is their answer.
如果你想的你每天活的不是为你自己活，你的生命不再是属于自己的，而是属于一个更高的一个 being 的话，而且是一个爱你的 being 的话，你会觉得活得很有奔头，很带劲儿。
For many young Chinese, the transformation began with the journey to the West for education and business opportunities. It turned out to be a journey to personal faith.
Start in the 80s, we start to see some students coming over from mainland China. So gradually the constituent of the church changes, and we have more and more students from mainland China.
Reverend Huang Tianzi is a pastor of the Chinese for Christ Church in Berkeley. He said half of the congregation are from mainland China today.
People from mainland China are more attracted to Christianity than other people. I think in the background, they were told that one should love other people. But in real life, of course, very few people can do things like that. And this is actually being practiced by the Christians.
Chinese-speaking churches experienced a rapid growth in the United States. During the 1980s and 1990s, more than 100 Chinese Protestant congregations sprung up in the Bay Area. Lu Ning cherished his freedom to worship here. He goes to church every Sunday and is a regular at Bible studies.
Jesus Christ, you can just cruise the way.
Back in China, he said he simply couldn't be the devout Christian he is today.
I was more like an invisible Christian back in China. I don't tell other people about what I believe. You feel like awkward. I mean, why would you tell other people about this?
The Constitution of the People's Republic of China guarantees religious freedom, but the government places many restrictions on religious activities.
You are not supposed to share the gospel outside of a church, or if you're not a clergy, if you're not a local clergy, you're also not supposed to share the gospel.
More effective than government enforcement is our atheist education and media propaganda. They create a common bias against religion.
你对所有的宗教人士都会觉得说，哎呀，好 crazy 啊！他们那些，特别是在国内电视里面看那些回教徒啊，什么极端分子啊，你会觉得他们一旦好像入了宗教门，整个人就疯掉了，然后就觉得不想沾边儿。
Despite government disapproval, the number of Christians inside China are growing. Reverend Huang claims China has as many as 80 million Christians. Christians inside and outside China share a common vision.
We have this burden in our hearts that we want the Chinese students to become aware of this, to know the true meaning of Christianity.
过去都是大量的国家宣教到中国，但是将来21世纪，我们基督徒就看为就应该是中国人宣教，中国人每年派很多宣教士去亚非拉各国。
As the world watches China arise in economic and political power, inside the American church, there is a transformation of a different kind.
It's a growing movement in China too. There are a lot of people just gather, they gather in private homes to worship God. We call it house churches.